thank you to BSAS, obviously, and to the GenTORE team for being here. It's good to be here in person, but also welcome online as well. I'm very much kind of looking forward to talking about some practical aspects of really the delivery stage of the GenTORE project. And I want to really look at how we can use commercial precision livestock farming data to actually deploy decision support through a kind of resilience index. So, as Charlie says, I mean, RAFT is one of the partners in GenTORE, and we're very much about applied science, about translating innovation, sustainable livestock food actually into practice. So very much involved in both kind of applied research and then looking at knowledge exchange programs as well. And RAFT's part of a series of kind of different networks and programs, and critically we're embedded into farmer networks. So essentially as a kind of veterinary kind of owned organisation, we're really about trying to make change happen on farm, trying to make it practical and possible to basically deliver those sustainability solutions. So 4 things I want to look at. First of all, about herd health and about achieving balance in kind of in farm situations. Secondly, looking at precision livestock farming and decision support. Thirdly, actually how we look at ranking, how we look at using precision phenotypes to achieve ranking solutions. And finally, bring it all together and some of the products and tools that actually have come out of GenTORE to do that. So, as a vet, I seem to spend increasing amounts of time spinning this dial. And my day job in the last 25 years has changed from all being in that top right-hand corner, really all being about health and welfare, to now much more thinking about food security from the farm gate outwards, definitely thinking about antimicrobial resistance and how we can use prevention rather than cure, but also about impact on the environment in what we do. And so herd health for me as a vet now is about trying to deliver an evidence base to basically those precision solutions on farm. And that means that these kind of 6 key dairy herd health areas, from mastitis, reproduction, genetics, nutrition, infectious disease, lameness and welfare and young stock, are to balance. Because every farm's got different challenges and every farm's got different priorities. And farmers have not got the time or the labour or the money to do everything all the time. So we've got to make choices about what to do first. And in the previous session, there was discussion about the lack of evidence that we have in some of these areas, and it is a challenge. But we have got an evidence base. It's growing, it's not complete, and I presented some work at COP25 with the kind of New Zealand sort of stand, looking at evidencing the economic case and the carbon case for making herd health changes. And there is a growing evidence base to support some of that work. But what it means is that we've got to provide a process and a system that is easy to do. And that means making decisions about measured information, what's actually happening on a farm, so that we can then make important management changes and monitor what happens. Has it worked? Have we had the changes that we thought would happen? And so that whole cycle of herd health is about measuring what's going on, making the changes, and then monitoring the outcome. The problem is that at farm level and at vet level, a lot of the time, people aren't making evidence-based decisions. They're making emotional decisions. They're making decisions based on what someone else is doing. And it might not be the most cost-effective or most sustainable set of decisions for their farm system. And so we've got a problem here with actually getting the right behaviours and making the right management changes actually for sustainable food production. So, could technology, could precision livestock farming offer an approach to this that might be efficient for labour use, might be cost effective in terms of targeting resources, but also give us the outcomes that we want? And so some colleagues in the GenTORE project from UniPD, from the University of Padova in Italy, so Isabella, Laura and Giulio, they produced a practice abstract, and all this information is available on the GenTORE website. And they actually surveyed the use of sensors and precision livestock farming in just under 1,000 Italian dairy herds. And actually, in 40% of those herds, technologies were available. but there was only 10 to 15% of herds that had got alert-based use of sensors for things like breeding timing, and only 3 to 5% of those herds were actually using things like positioning systems or rumination or activity to make health-based decision changes. So why use precision livestock farming? Well, as we just raised, we haven't got spare time or resource or money, so we've got to make difficult decisions on farm. And therefore, it's really important to use PLF in the most sustainable way. That's not to replace valuable labour. Skilled labour is still really important on farm, but we can use PLF to support that change. And we can use PLF, therefore, to provide sustainable improvements in health and welfare and productivity. And there is a wealth of PLF out there. And within the GenTORE project, we've used lots and lots of commercial sensor systems that are out there on farm now. As with the Italian work, 40% of dairy farms in Italy have got sensors available, but they're not being used. And that's without even looking at more innovative and novel solutions like drone systems, which can provide really amazing PLF data in extensive systems. For example, some of the work that was done in the Netherlands, we can actually get weights and we can, from animals out in the field, but also we can understand about behaviour change. How much time do animals spend grazing? How much time are animals actually lying down and comfortable? Why do we need PLF? Well, the answer is that we're not doing great without it. There are some real challenges with being able to make good decisions in herd health situations. For example, when to breed cows. Ovulation prediction is really hard, and higher yielding cows show behavioural signs of estrus for less time, and therefore with scarce labour and potentially larger herd size in some cases, we don't do a great job at actually timing breeding decisions. And therefore, sensors and precision livestock farming offer an opportunity to do better in a cost-effective way for farmers. And that's really important in making decisions about introducing new genetics. We've heard already in sessions here at the conference about how we can bring in more sustainable solutions through genetics, whether it's looking at the microbiome, whether it's looking at healthier animals, whether it's looking at animals that are more productive. But genetics is a key part of our future solutions to sustainable breeding and farming. But actually, we've got decisions to make here. As Charles said in the introduction, do we apply this equally to every animal? If we look at a herd, do we really want to breed from every single animal in that herd in the same way? Can we deselect some animals because they're not a good bet? And can we amplify the best animals in a herd so we get more replacements from those animals using ovum pickup, IVP, or embryo collection and transfer, or even just using sex semen? And in doing these advanced technologies, it becomes important that we target the right animals to actually apply those techniques to. But these aren't just individual decisions. At the moment, a lot of indices are based on making individual animal decisions, but actually there's a context here of a herd environment. There's a context here where infectious disease is going to apply to a herd situation. Good or poor nutrition applies to a herd situation. Poor buildings and flooring apply to the whole herd. Infectious disease is one example where we don't tend to target one animal, we tend to apply a herd solution. So there are herd factors here, and there are herd management opportunities based around that. And that's important because we can do things. Inflammation and changes in transition management can affect whole groups of cows. And there's really good data out there, basically from Ribeiro and colleagues in Canada, in Guelph, showed long-term effects. If we've got poor transition management and we've got inflammation, we have impacts on conception risk and on breeding success for months to come. And we can do things about it because we can use intervention products on an individual basis which give us improved success rates in mastitis treatment and improved success rates in fertility. But they're reactive, and it's another cost for the farmer for using those products. So can we get to the root of the problem, which is good herd health management? And can we target weak points in herd health? for extra attention. So genomics has offered a big opportunity in ranking, but as I'm sure Donna will kind of try and wow us in a couple of sessions, the magic and the promises that are basically offered in genomics aren't always kept. Promises can be broken because actually we've got potential there, but it doesn't apply equally to every herd. And so I'm going to make the argument, as well as making sure we get the most out of our genetic indices, but actually we also recognise that within those strengths we can add extra value to them with precision livestock farming data. And that's because we've got a local production context to how we're delivering the decision support from our genomic indices. We've got a context which is actually therefore explaining some of the non-genetic changes and opportunities that we've got within a herd. But that's difficult to do when we're short of time and labour. And I have to acknowledge again that Donna was a co-author in that work there. So you do owe me that pint later, Donna. So we've got an opportunity here for decision support based on the local production environment that we are looking at the genomics within. And that means we can use objective phenotypes from these technologies for precision mating. We can predict long-term success from those animals and therefore look at individual precision decisions that are going on, but can we also look on a herd basis? And so the final kind of sort of section I want to look at here is very much around the work that we've done throughout Work Package 3 actually in GenTORE, which is first of all looking at ranking animals using these phenotypic proxies from sensor technologies that are already commercially available. These are out on farm already, and use them to produce herd level decision support, not just individual animal decision support. And again, just want to acknowledge obviously all our colleagues within the GenTORE project across all the partnership that Charla kind of described. And it means we can do large scale phenotyping. We can do on-farm management on that basis of the feedback we get from those data tools. And that means that we can actually look at rank animals through resilience and efficiency based on their sensor-based feedback and sensor-based phenotypes. And that means we can look at longevity and predict longevity. It means we can look at overall productivity, but it therefore means that we can rank animals based on these time-efficient sensor-based proxies. And why that's important is we are building on genotyping. So we're building on the genomic indices that are already there. This is not instead of, but we're building on them. So we can augment the genomic information we've already got by looking at prior performance of those animals. We can look at the health events and their success and therefore refine our ranking and refine our decision making. So we can look at efficiency and we can look at ranking animals on their efficiency, but actually what we did in GenTORE, and we focused on actually ranking animals on resilience, which we defined really as an ability to rebreed. So we looked at their fertility performance, we looked at their health events, and we looked at their overall production context as well. So we basically had got at least 5 years worth of data for all the herds we looked at, and we ranked animals on their success in rebreeding. How well did they get to kind of year 5? How many health events did they have to overcome? How good was their production? And then we used the sensor data from those 5-year experiments to see how well they predicted the final ranking. And all the publications here again are available on the GenTORE website that are associated with this work. So we really looked therefore at how those resilience rankings connected with the sensor outputs from these commonly available commercial sensor systems. We looked at 2 sorts of sensor features. First of all, we looked at features which were really based around overall, gradient, skew, and quite universally applicable ways to look at the sensor performance. But then secondly, we looked at actually the shape of perturbations to those sensor data. We looked in a lot more detail at 40 to 50 different features of how sensor outputs changed in relation to that local production environment. And that became really powerful because although the A-level features were useful, with the B-level features, it allowed us to differentiate between regular breeding events, so estrus type frequency, versus longer-term events where animals received perturbation and impacts from health problems or nutrition issues or environmental issues like heat stress and how well they recovered. And we use those features then to predict the final rankings. And so the final part of the work that we've been doing in GenTORE is taking those modelling outputs and actually putting them into some demonstration software to allow us to actually integrate these commercially available streams of sensors to provide herd level indicators of resilience and efficiency on a daily basis, where we're re-ranking these herds every day based on those sensor outputs automatically, and we're dividing them into 4 fields. So we've got an overall resilience dial, which changes, and again, these links to these demonstration software are available through the GenTORE website. So we're looking at, is resilience improving or declining in this herd? And if it is, can we go to the next level and look, is that because of changes in production? Is it because of changes in fertility? Is it because of changes in health? Or actually is the herd inventory drifting, that we've got more and more young stock that this herd is carrying for its productive output? So we're actually looking at the outputs from rumination, from activity, from milk level data, integrating them together to produce automated rankings of resilience in this herd, with a second level window to allow us to highlight which areas do we prioritise for herd attention. If resilience is declining, do we look at health first and look at things like fertility afterwards? So I'm going to basically draw this to a close here, really just to say that this demonstration software is at an early stage, but we're looking for obviously further development of this, and we've certainly got the opportunities there for using precision livestock data to actually augment kind of current genomic indices in making decisions about culling or breeding. Thank you very much.